This channel is very much off the cuff, just kind of riffing on stuff. I listened to the Misquoting Jesus, the latest episode of the Misquoting Jesus podcast with Dr. Bart Ehrman yesterday, in which he talked about the Gospel of Nicodemus, and which was like this 4th or 5th century text, apocryphal gospel, attributed to Nicodemus, written in Hebrew originally, which became a very, very important text in medieval times. And Dr. Ehrman also talked about the harrowing of hell, which is this very important concept, which is after Jesus' crucifixion and before his resurrection, he went down into the underworld, which in Greek is Hades, but we tend to think of hell. So Jesus went to hell, right? He went down, and according to the original Gospel of Nicodemus, apparently, this is according to Dr. Ehrman, the original had Jesus saving everyone. It was universal salvation. Everyone was liberated from hell. But then that got changed. So there was another version that became the more popular version, where not everyone got saved. So this is a very, I've been doing a lot about A Course in Miracles on this channel. I think for Course in Miracles students, this is something of great interest, because now apparently scholars think that the author of the Gospel of Nicodemus was a Hellenized Jew, meaning a Jew who was living in the Greek world milieu, and he wrote this gospel in Hebrew, but he was also a Christian. So he, according to the earliest version, apparently, of this gospel, which I have not read myself, actually, but I do want to read it, Jesus saves everyone. But people apparently were not happy with that, because obviously in this world, we want the sinners to be punished, right? Who doesn't want the ones that did evil in their lives to be punished, right? But the question is, do they deserve eternal damnation? And according to what Dr. Ehrman was saying, which I thought was fascinating, is that even evangelicals today are questioning that idea of the eternal damnation. How could a loving God, even if God metes out justice, how could a loving God allow people to be eternally damned for something that they did, whatever they did? And people will say, well, what about Hitler? What about the most horrible people? And there sure seem to be a lot of them. How could they go without being punished for a very long time, at least? And I think this idea though, and the other thing that I thought was interesting in what Dr. Ehrman was saying, and this figure really needs to be looked into. His name is Origen, one of the early church fathers. And Origen wrote some very interesting stuff, including about reincarnation, about universal salvation. And I think if you're a student of Course in Miracles, you might want to look at Origen. And Origen later became excommunicated, I believe, or something like that, by the church, because he was too out there. But this is where A Course in Miracles, is also presenting something which is kind of out there, right? It is also saying universal salvation, and it also seems to be talking about maybe there is reincarnation, which would make it possible for people to find redemption through learning the lessons that they need to learn in order to accept salvation for themselves and accept their own liberation. Now, the Course does not say that reincarnation is true or not. So, but I do believe that the Course is saying that everyone will be saved. Everyone is already saved, right? It's just a matter of waking up to that, whether you want to wake up to that idea and realize that idea or not. So the Course, in a way, probably goes even beyond the Gospel of Nicodemus. The Jesus going down to hell and saving everyone, in a way, is symbolic of the idea that we're already saved, right? But we don't need to be saved. It's just about realizing that we are saved, and that we've never been lost. we've never been spent. Anyway, I think for A Course in Miracles students, this is all very interesting stuff. I always get something great out of the Misquoting Jesus podcast. I do also really like Dr. Richard Carrier. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Dr. Carrier's theory that Jesus probably did not actually exist, that he was a myth that later became a human being in the literature, in the Gospels, and so on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Dr. Carrier and his career. And I think he has some valid critiques of Dr. Ehrman. Dr. Ehrman is just, he really knows his stuff. Both of them really know their stuff. And Dr. Ehrman is really able to bring it to the common person. He speaks very, very clearly, and I've been learning from him about how to present things in a clear way, and in an understandable way, and in a way that brings it a little bit more down to earth. So I hope this was helpful in that regard, and would love to hear any comments you have, any thoughts. See you soon. Yeah. All right. Bye for now.